Colorado head coach Deion Sanders is saying he's the right man for the job, but is he actually?
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs, everybody. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the business. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So we're going to be talking about a handful of different things today. For starters, Deion Sanders says he's the right guy for the job, and I think a lot of people disagree with that, but I firmly agree with that. I'm going to break down the 7 biggest reasons that Deion Sanders has proven like he's the guy for the job. We're going to talk about Colorado's glaring roster issue that could define how Deion Sanders' tenure in Boulder goes for, honestly, until the end, maybe. And then we're going to talk about the portal needs this offseason because there's a lot of them. So let's start with the right guy. So when Coach Prime was talking to the media, obviously he got that appreciation and that approval from Rick George, who said he's not on the hot seat. But I think for one of the first times of the Coach Prime era, I feel like he actually appealed to the fan base more than he ever has before, right? I think a lot of the times Deion Sanders is not playing a character of sorts, but he's operating under the impression that like, hey, I'm Deion Sanders, people love me, and people are going to listen to whatever I have to say. And for me, this felt like one of the few times in his, I guess, Colorado coaching tenure where he was like, I need you guys to trust me. Like, please. Like, I feel like he was appealing to fans with this quote. He said, quote, please understand, if anybody's built for adversity, I am. If anybody is built for change, I am. If anybody is built to overcome situations and trials and tribulations, I am. You got the right man. I promise you, you do. And I'm going to prove that to you. I am. Just give me an opportunity and give me a little more time, and I'm going to prove that to you. I will. I promise you that. So he said that on Tuesday. And I think that just kind of speaks to maybe he and Rick George had a conversation like, hey, pretending like everything's fine and being like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Everything's chill. Don't worry about anything, bros. Like, we got this. I think someone talked to him about, I guess, how, or at least I would assume, or at least he maybe came to this realization that he was kind of being disingenuous at times, right? When Colorado's getting blown out by Utah and Arizona and they're getting outscored 105-24. And he's just like, you know what? I know the changes we need to make, but doesn't say and won't elaborate. Like, I think there was sort of this like this vibe of like, you know, I know what I'm doing and you guys don't. And to me, that really felt like, hey, I'm appealing to you guys because I know how much you guys matter. And so I would want to think Colorado fans appreciate that. That being said, I found 7 sort of key reasons to keep Deion Sanders around. And I don't think he should be on the hot seat by any means, and obviously he's not, but these are the 7 key reasons to keep him off the hot seat. Colorado's went 9-4 last season. That was their first 9+ win season since 2016. They've only had 3 others since 1999. So he literally is leading this program to heights that, I mean, I'm 26. I was born in 1999. So there's only been 3 other times in my lifetime that Colorado has won 9+ games. And I think Deion Sanders sort of tasted that success and can figure out how to get back there, especially with the NIL sort of influx that programs across the country are starting to get. He made $8.2 million in profit sales last year after losing money in 5 out of the last 6 years before that. So he's obviously a big revenue driver, and bringing in money isn't everything, but it certainly doesn't hurt, right? I think one of the things that when I talked to people about Colorado was before the Coach Prime era, I talked about the fact that you could, in college football, you can be bad or you're irrelevant, but you can't be bad and irrelevant, right? You could be good and irrelevant, right? Like some programs are just like flying under the radar and it's like, oh, cool. Like I didn't realize, like Georgia Tech, for instance, I think most people would agree like, oh, I didn't realize Georgia Tech was doing so good, right? And you don't want to be irrelevant, but you can't be bad and irrelevant. And so Colorado was those things, right? And when he was hired, he brought in $146.6 million in revenue for the school, which was astronomical. It was a record. He's bringing in money. He's bringing in attendance. He's bringing in applicants. Like, people are interested in Colorado at a level they've never seen before. And I think nobody would agree with that more than the local economy, which saw a $113 million boost in 2023. And again, being the head coach of a college football team, like he's not a politician, he's not the mayor, so he doesn't have to be like he's not out there going, "Hey, look at the revenue I generated. That should keep me in my job," but it certainly should help, right? I think Deion Sanders' impact goes well beyond the football field, and I think if you're Colorado, you kind of understand like there's going to be some risks in hiring a coach who's as inexperienced as he is. But that being said, the rewards I think far outweigh the risks. Now let's go back to the gridiron. You produce a Heisman winner, a Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, a Defensive Player of the Year as well, Ben and Derek Award winner, Biletnikoff winner, like Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders are program legends. Now, do I think that both of them should have had their jerseys retired like 5 minutes after they set foot off campus? I don't know. Like I said when it happened, every program has different standards. Like Philip Rivers had his jersey retired while he was active. So I see why people could be upset with that, but he brought Colorado to the best players in college football. I don't think we'll ever be able to talk about college football again without mentioning the name Travis Hunter. And so not only landing him at Jackson State, but being able to bring him to Colorado instead of Florida State, Georgia, all the schools that were like, okay, now he's going to leave. Like, huge deal. He's landed 3 5-star recruits, right? And you could count 4 if you want to count Travis. He landed Cormani McClain. Obviously didn't work out in Boulder, but Cormani McClain has turned out to be quite the player at Florida. Jordan Seaton, projected first-round pick. And then you got Juju Lewis. Like he is landing talents that Colorado otherwise would not be able to, right? Colorado does not have a rich recruiting history, and even their top 2 recruits in program history have left the program, right? So he can recruit at an all-time level. Whether or not he's going to do it, story for a different day. And then all eyes are on the program. Colorado has been nationally televised every single week that he has been the head coach, and I would imagine it's going to stay the same. The final game against Kansas State has yet to be announced, but I imagine it'll be nationally televised. And so Coach Prime is doing everything. Like, he brings a lot of quality things to the program. That being said, there are some changes that he needs to make, right? That's going to be staffing changes. I firmly believe that if Deion Sanders puts a better staff around him, one that is more suited for college football and recruiting and talent evaluating, he will be able to succeed. In terms of staffing, he also needs to recruit better and harder, right? Colorado, and I'm going to get to this in a little bit, does not recruit the high school ranks at all, and they're losing recruits left and right, and that's a big deal. And then lastly, he has to be willing to sort of admit where he was wrong, and whether that's the transfer portal, his staff, whatever it is, he needs to figure out how to change Colorado's identity, because they don't really find one until midway through the season. And it's like, that's our identity. Like, they need to find one and establish one. So Deion Sanders is by far the right guy for the Buffs. It's just a matter of him realizing what he can do to complement and help himself. That will really get people around college football to see the same. And you don't have to get everybody to agree with you about that, right? Deion Sanders, he's not for everyone. We could safely say that. I think most people aren't the biggest fans of him. But that being said, Rick George is a fan of him, and that's all that matters, right? Rick George is currently the guy that is in charge of signing his checks, and Rick George is continuing to want to sign his checks. And so that is all that matters for Coach Prime, and in terms of his job security. So I think he's the right person for the job. You guys comment below. Do you think Deion Sanders, right guy for the Colorado job? Let me know what you guys think. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score to next fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Dewar. If you guys aren't familiar with Dewar, you need to do so. You need to get familiar with Dewar because Dewar is, I think they have probably the comfiest jeans I've ever worn. They're 5 times the stretch of the traditional denim. They're antibacterial, meaning your jeans stay fresh longer so you can wear them more and wash them less. And they're made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks moisture. Keeps your jeans cool and comfortable as temperature changes. Dewar combines classic jean wear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's the best of both worlds. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. Trust me, once you try these, they'll be your go-to. And you can check out Doer in store in Denver. It's at 2621 Lemire Street. Or you can pick up a pair for yourself, or you could get them for someone else as an amazing holiday gift. Mention my promo code Locked On Denver in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopduer.com/Locked On Denver for 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/Locked On Denver. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys. We're free and available wherever. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that way you don't miss out on a moment of your coverage. We're brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network in the business. Now let's talk roster problems. Colorado has them, and they have them bad. So I talked about this on yesterday's show, and I think like probably about an hour after my show dropped, Gavin Mueller decommitted, and it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, I mean, if you're a tight end, a running back, maybe even a linebacker at this point, because you clearly are seeing the lack of development in these guys, you don't want to go to Colorado. They don't have the proper coaches. They don't use tight ends or running backs properly at all. And so Gavin Mueller, even if Miami's not sort of like a tight end factory, guess what? He's going to be paid more, and he's going to live in Miami. And guess what? I was in Miami the other day, not the other day, but a few weeks ago. A little bit about my life is me and my fiance are getting married, and so we had to go to Miami for something for our wedding. And Miami's got great weather. They got great food, great culture. Like, it is awesome. So if you're Colorado, you can't be outpaid, outbeached, and not show any progress of using your tight end, right? Zach Atkins, I think, is a bona fide star, but Zach Atkins gets the ball like once every full moon. Like, it's like, dude, feed him the ball. Either way, I wrote this post on X to see what people had to say, but I just wanted to sort of discuss it. So Colorado now has the number 66 ranked recruiting class in the country. If you go off of Rivals on 24/7, it's in the 80s. It's like 88, 87. And they have 11 commitments. And that's assuming they don't lose anybody else. They will be losing at least 38. Let me repeat that. 38 38 players who are seniors or grad students. And you're probably going to lose a few more via the portal, right? So we'll just call it an even 45 players, right? We could estimate, and who knows, there may be more. Colorado is basically going to have to bring in half a new team. And this is where I truly despise the transfer portal method, because I don't really know how lucrative the transfer portal is going to be this time. There's only one portal, right? So we're going to find out in real time, like how willing, I don't know why I went with privy, how willing people are to try to transfer when there's only 1 week, right? They have a week to decide, and schools are going to go full court press. Like, there's not going to be a spring window where it's like, okay, we went through fall camp and we saw that we suck at whatever. Like, no, it is you basically break down your team's needs right away, and you just hope you can develop those guys. And Colorado has not shown that they could develop it well at a lot of positions. So the transfer portal is a big need, and this roster is a big problem for next year, right? Like, right now, if you told me that, hey, Colorado, like, I think this could be Deion Sanders' biggest transfer portal class. Like, this could be on par with year one Deion Sanders. Like, that's how bad this could be. So I'm very nervous for Colorado. I am, because one, everyone's going to be dipping into the transfer portal as they normally do, but there's going to be a lot of teams who are aggressive and can outspend Colorado. And if you're Colorado, you don't want to have to settle. And you're going to find yourself in a position where you settle, where it's like, okay, well, we missed on the top 7 linebackers, but our linebackers are absolutely abysmal. And so we need to bring in a few more. And so you're just like, okay, well, this guy came from this school and like he was okay. Like, the amount of times Colorado may have to settle in the portal this offseason could be detrimental. And it's why I think Deion Sanders needs to really focus on recruiting that 27 class, 28 class. And it doesn't matter about getting commits now, but getting ahead of the pack, right? Excuse me, because if you are just banking on the transfer portal every year, there's going to be years where you go 9-4, right? But there's going to be clearly there's more years where you go 3-9, 4-8 than you go 9-4, right? We've seen a lot of programs try to build through the portal, specifically through the portal, right? We've seen it and it hasn't worked. And I know people are going to be like, oh, Ohio State got Will Howard from the portal, or oh, like so and so, like you name a team like Texas, they got certain guys from the portal, or whoever else, like Alabama, they use the portal. Yeah, they're using the portal as something to fill a hole. They're not building their roster through the portal, right? The blue chip ratio has told us every year since like 2000, the teams that win the championships are the teams that have their roster that are 50% 4- and 5-star recruits that they recruited, right? And people like Deion Sanders himself, they're like, well, you're going to lose the half your roster or half your recruits to the transfer portal, right? Well, if you bring in 30 guys, say you bring in a class of 30 and you lose half, that's only 15, right? You brought in 30 plus transfers this year and you're losing 38 people, right? So either way, you're going to lose people. That being said, the guys who stick around and they have success, that's how you sort of build a program. I know the program that everybody wants me to talk about is Indiana. Yeah, you want to know the reason Indiana has success building through the transfer portal? They brought it. They have stability at coaching, right? Kurt Cignetti has had the same assistants virtually his entire career. They have they had like 15 transfers come from James Madison. So those guys came in, instilled the culture, and everyone followed suit, right? When you're Colorado, you're bringing in all these random dudes, and they're like, hey, this is how we did stuff at Bama, so I'm not going to do that here. Or like, this is how we did stuff at Tennessee, or this is how we did stuff at, I don't know, Mississippi. Like this, you're bringing in all these guys who think they know stuff, and they don't. And you're also bringing in a bunch of rejects who they didn't work out for a reason, right? That's the hard part about the transfer portal is they did not work out. And realistically, and I talked about this yesterday, 4 types of transfers. FCS G5 guys making the jump, guys who didn't get playing time. So it's like, okay, they haven't played, so now they're looking for an opportunity to play. Guys who want more money, or just guys who have flat out flopped. And it's just like one of those things where it's like, dude, that's not the best. Like 3 out of those 4 guys I don't want on my team. And Colorado's roster is about to be filled with them. Like, so if you're Deion Sanders and you're that dedicated to using the transfer portal, then I'm telling you right now, you need to clean house on recruiting, or whoever's involved in charge of your evaluation group, like the guys who are looking for transfers. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Looking for transfers are not doing a good job, right? Colorado did not hit on any of these transfers this year. They hit on maybe, I think they brought in a class of 30 plus, and they hit on maybe 5 to 6. That rate's not going to cut it, especially when you're going to bring in 50 next year, right? Because, I mean, you look at like, we'll just say 6 out of 30. So 6 out of 30, that's 20%, right? That's not going to work. So if 20% of 50 is 10, right? So if you're bringing in 50 transfers this year and you're going off the success rate that you had this year, you're going to hit on 10 out of 50. That's not going to get it done, especially when you're going to probably have a new offensive line for the most part. You're going to have new running backs are okay. You're going to have a couple new receivers here and there, new secondary, new linebackers, new defensive line. Like, you have so many problems, and you're just like, oh, well, we're going to try it again and see what happens. Like, I don't love that. So huge roster problem in Boulder. I can't believe that they're not trying to change that up. And we'll see what moves he makes this offseason to really address these needs. But oh gosh, dude, it's getting scary out there. When we come back, we're going to talk about what I view as the biggest transfer portal needs for the Colorado Buffaloes. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. Guess what? If you need tickets for anything, whether it be college football, comedy, whatever, Game Time is for you. The college football is back, and I couldn't be more excited because, I mean, there's tailgates, there's rivalries, and there's energy in the stands, but there's nothing like college football. But let's be real, trying to get those tickets to attend any of this stuff can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. There's endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout, and that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. We're brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network in the business. Let's talk transfer portal needs. Now, I mean, I could realistically just say everything and end the show, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. I would never. I'm going to give you a breakdown of sort of why I think each position is a need. I'm going to go from least important to most important. So starting with the least important, I'm going to go backup quarterback. Right. And because Colorado has no quarterbacks committed, I imagine you're losing Caden Salter, which is probably for the better for both parties. I don't think Caden Salter was a fit for schematically, and I don't think he really enjoyed his time in Boulder, if I had to guess. And I would assume you're going to lose Ryan Staub, right? Ryan Staub has been the backup for 2-3 years now. He's got a taste of playing, but he probably wants to be the guy somewhere. I imagine he's going to drop down to a G5 program, FCS program, and be a guy down there somewhere. And he should. He deserves that. And he's solid. He's just not a power forward quarterback, at least from what I've seen. So you need someone, preferably someone experienced, preferably someone who's kind of willing to be a backup, right? Like USC got Sam Heward, who, like, obviously, if you guys don't know, they used him as a fake punter the other day, but he's a guy that sort of bounced around, right? Played at Cal Poly, put up some big numbers there, started his career at Washington, then end up at USC for what I think is his final year. You need to find someone like that where it's just like, hey, we're bringing you in and you're basically a glorified GA and we'll turn to you if we need you. But I mean, USC has that. Texas has that with Matthew Caldwell, who's filled in for Arch a few times. Programs have them. They're out there, right? Florida has Clay Milan, whatever his name was. They have them. They're out there. There's not a lot of these guys that are transferring from smaller schools. If they know they're not going to play, they know they're just there to add depth. Like they just want to go to a bigger school. So quarterback would be a big one for me. I mean, the trenches we're going from least important, excuse me. I would probably say one receiver. I really like Colorado's receiver core. I think they got a good star in Amarion Miller. I think Joseph Williams, assuming he returns, is going to be a star for Colorado next year. They could be the best duo in the Big 12. Then you have Quentin Gibson, Quanell Farrakhan. Like I think they're solid. So I don't think you really need a ton of receivers, but a little depth here and there wouldn't hurt. Running back is a key one for me. This is where we start to go. I'm doing 3 on each side of the ball. No. I guess if this is my most important running back, honorable mention, because I think they have a good group, but they need to return everyone and they need to actually utilize the run game. Offensive line, I mean, you're going to lose Xavier Hill, probably going to lose a couple other guys. So again, you're kind of find yourself in a situation like you did this year where it's like, okay, we have Jordan Seaton. Now we're building around him. You need an offense line to protect Julian Lewis, right? He was running for his life against West Virginia, and I imagine it's going to stay the same against ASU and Kansas State. So you need a solid offensive line. Now, defensively, I mean, the biggest problems for me, and this is basically my 1 and 2, defensive line, linebackers. Colorado's front 7 has been absolutely terrible. And I mean, giving up 400 yards rushing, 200 yards rushing, they can't stop a nosebleed. And if you're Coach Prime, you have to understand that you can't win games if you're not physical up front. And Colorado, and I think part of this is coaching. I mean, you have Andre Hart, who's never coached before, being with Deion Sanders. You have 2 defensive line or pass rush coaches like Warren Sapp, although he's a great player, legend of the game, never coached before. Coach Pecco's never coached before. So you're really asking a lot of these inexperienced coaches, and you're getting basically what you would expect from coaches who have never coached before, which is poor performance. And then lastly, the secondary. I mean, the secondary is terrible. Outside of Tafik Byard, the corners and safeties have all been really bad this year. And so I think you really need to hit those hard. And I mean, maybe you make a change there, coach, as well. But big offseason for the Buffs, right? You guys comment below. What do you think the biggest portal need is for Colorado? I think you could really go anywhere. It's like just blindfold yourself and be like, okay, we want to go here, because that's how bad it is for the Buffs. At least I think. So you guys comment below. Let me know what position you think Colorado needs to attack. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I'll see all of y'all tomorrow.